Hey, everybody. All right. I don't think we have a whole lot of people to get caught up on. Dade, Zini, Mike, hello, hello, and hello. You get switched over to my all messages here. All right. We are going to get right into the feeding because we are already well underway on doing a water change on the discus tank tonight. So we're going to let that keep draining. I started at about 7:15, so it's been draining for about 45 minutes. I was actually in the bathroom, and I noticed all of a sudden the water flow stopped. And so, of course, I came out here as quickly as I could, and as I suspected, my Siamese algae eater had his nose stuck up in the end of the hose and was clogging it, and he didn't come out easily either. I felt bad. I kind of had to shake it a little bit, and he still didn't come out, so I started to unscrew it, and when I started to take it apart, he fell back out of it. So I don't know if he suffered any kind of injury from me shaking it or not. I shook it gently, hoping to dislodge him. I wasn't thrashing it around or anything. But we'll see. I don't know. That's about the fourth time that's happened. I always forget to stuff a piece of, you can see in the thing there now, I got a piece of the batting material that I use for cleaning the glass and stuff. I got it stuffed up in there. So even if it does try to nose back in, it'll be pushing that ahead of it. And it'll block off the end where it can't, get its nose stuck in that little hole at the end. So hopefully it'll be okay. But that's the only incident I've had this evening so far. At least the only fish-related incident I've had in the house this evening. All right, so to those of you out there lurking, I will say hello to you as well. This koi is starting to get really big, especially that yellow one you can see right there in front of you. All three of the yellow ones. The white one is probably the smallest of the three. But these two that are yellow and white right here are absolutely huge. Well, compared to the size they were when I got them, they're getting huge. So I think this is probably going to be the last year they can stay in the pond. I'm going to have to figure out something else to do with them. Either make a... Oh, I only wear this shirt during the live stream. I take it off as soon as the live stream's over. So it's not like I've been wearing it for 3 days. It actually still smells like laundry detergent. But having said that, it's not unusual for me to wear the same shirt 3 days in a row. That's fairly common for me. I don't have a whole lot on my mind fish keeping wise today. I honestly wasn't even sure if I was going to do a live stream until about a half an hour ago, and I decided I would. Shirley, how are you? I am happy to say, although I should probably wait till Laura's here because she's probably more interested in it than a lot of you are, but my mushrooms are like really growing. They're starting to look like mushrooms. The caps haven't popped open yet. They're still little round nubs on top of the stalks, but they're about 1.5 inches tall now. Some of them are bigger than the diameter of my finger. It's getting kind of exciting. I told you, Zini, all mushrooms always look sus. There's just nothing you can do about it. It's just what a mushroom looks like. And nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry. Unless it's like one of those chicken of the trees or one of those kind of mushrooms. But your standard mushroom style mushroom is just always going to look sus. I didn't design them. If I think about it, once we're done with the feedings and whatnot, I'll take the camera in there and see if I can give you as much of a look of them as I can. All right, let's move on to the next tank. Yeah, we're going to move right along tonight. My main goal is just to get the water change done. So the only thing you're really going to get to see of me doing that is the wiping of the glass. I'll show you me wiping the glass down for whatever that's worth. I know people like watching other people do tank maintenance. So I will be happy to oblige. Still haven't cleaned the sponge filter out of this, and it also needs the hang on the backs cleaned again. So maybe that'll be our Sunday night thing to do. In the meantime, we're going to let the tank continue draining. Bob, we missed you the other night. At least I did. I took a picture of them, and it doesn't really do them justice because the whole bag is just filled with them, and it's like 100 of them in there. Gotta make sure I'm getting the right picture. So that's what I got going on so far. And again, this big one right here is bigger than the diameter of my pinky. And that's just one little corner of the bag, all the way around the whole rim of the bag. They're just coming up everywhere. And then there's a bunch that are coming up out of the middle. So if half of them actually fully develop into mushrooms, I'm going to have like an ounce of mushrooms out of that one bag. After they're dried, it's going to be like an ounce of mushrooms. I'm excited. What else is it bigger than the diameter of? A pencil. Lots of stuff, really. And you're going to try to blame the susness on my mushrooms? I think we know where to blame the susness. All right, let me see if I got a glass wiping thing over here. I do. This glass doesn't need a lot of wiping, but we're in front of it, so I'll go ahead and wipe it. Still have some stuff on there from the last time I didn't get with the razor blade. Start with that. And it's about the time of year I'm going to have to start thinking about what tanks have heaters in them and what tanks don't have heaters in them. With the outside temperatures getting so low, I usually keep the window open down here at night. Especially when I'm down here, I have the fan on in the other room very gently, but it does pull air, from the outside through the basement and out the other end. And I can tell you this water is pretty damn chilly, but this is goldfish, so that's all right. But some of my tanks down here that have tropical fish in them don't have heaters either because it never really gets that cold in the basement. So I think it's about time to start closing that window off. And it will get chilly down here in the basement overnight with the windows all closed and everything, but it doesn't get that cold. And of course, with all the other heated tanks in the room, the heated tanks basically act like space heaters. So this room in particular doesn't get that chilly. Let's shoot my temperature gun in there and see what temperature we got going on with the goldfish. Dark night. Do I need to mush them open before they're actual mushrooms, or do I need to mush them up? No, they'll just pop open themselves eventually, hopefully. Once the fruiting process starts, it should all happen in less than 2 weeks. 71 degrees, so that's a little on the chilly side, but it's not too bad. My pond over here is 71 degrees. My other 125 over here is 75 degrees, but I do have a heater in that one. Let's see, I got a heater in there, I got a heater in there, I got heaters in all them, so I think we're pretty good. My tank, nope, that's got a heater in it too. I think we're good. I don't think I have to worry too much about heat in any of my tanks. We are going to need to worry about getting my discus tank cleaned up. It's getting pretty low, and we're going to need to change the flow of the water here in a moment, but before that, I'm going to finish off the mushroom juice I started for the evening. Took a swig of it, about quarter of. So I'm going to take my additional swig now and finish it off. Grape. That is so grape. So much grape. I would even go so far as to say it's grape-alicious. All right, you come back over here. And I'm going to get started on wiping the glass down. Now I'm using the melamine sponges, and if you're going to use a melamine sponge, you have to get it wet before you start wiping it across the glass. This is not because it has some sort of chemical agent or anything that needs to be activated. It's just that, you know, buying one of those sponges that's completely dried out and shriveled up, you got to get it wet before you can use it. You can't just scrape a dry ass sponge across glass and expect it to do anything. And that's the way these are. I've tried rubbing them across the glass when they're dry, just sort of by accident before, and it makes a hideous noise and it doesn't feel good. It was unpleasant. So you definitely want to get them wet before you start wiping the glass down. And in just a minute here, I'm going to get the water flipped around because it's getting really low. Ouch, watch my elbow there. All right, we'll call that one good. We'll use a fresh one. You can see there's really, really fine stuff that's staying on the glass there. So let me get my razor blade out and hit that real quick before we get out of here. Yeah, I'm definitely going to hit that with the razor blade. It's not coming off. There we go. That's getting it off. It's probably the cleanest this glass has been in a long time. Now, watch my elbow again. What did I just tell you? All right, we're going to call that good, and we're going to go ahead and flip that water flow around. All right, and we are filling. So let's move on to the next tank. I am going to wipe the outside of that glass down too. I'm going to give it the old deadly Windex. Watch your head. This tank needs some maintenance too. I'm not going to get to it tonight, but it does need some. So I'll throw a pinch of Vibrabites in there. And then I'll break up some algae wafers. That's the good stuff that everybody's waiting for. The minnows like the Vibrabites, but the bigger fish all wait for their algae wafer chunks. I break them up into pieces so everybody gets some. You can throw them in whole pieces if you have a pleco or shrimp or something like that, and you don't care if like everybody gathers around on one wafer, or like I said, if you got like a single pleco or something, it's, you know, just let it chew on the wafer by itself. But when you got a bunch of fish in there that are all scrambling for them, it's easier just to break it up into little pieces. That way everybody gets some. Steve. Kane, how are you? I was waiting for you, Steve. I've actually started using my old mod. This one that my friend gave me a long time ago. If you look at it, and you can't see all what's on there, that screen, but there's all sorts of different stuff you can adjust. So my stick mod was a 60-watt battery, and it was just on or off. There was no ramp up time or anything. As soon as you push the button, just full crank was going through the heating coil, and it was 60 watts, and it was completely non-adjustable. That was it. It was on or off, and it was 60 watts. This, you can adjust the wattage, you can adjust the ramp up. So I set this one down to 40 watts, and I have the ramp up set to standard. You can do eco, soft, standard, or powerful. And powerful is where it just, you push the button and the coils just immediately heat up. Standard, it ramps up a little slower, and so you're not getting full heat the moment you press the button. It slowly gets hot and then comes up to full temperature. So you get this nice smooth onset of the hit. And it took me a little bit to get it adjusted to where I like it, but this is nice now. The hits aren't as gigantic and cloudy, but they're smooth as butter, and they taste delicious now, so it's not so hot. So I'm really happy with the dialing it in. Sorry about that. I should have turned that light out a while ago. Well, fortunately, I just bumped my elbow into the edge of a plastic light, so I'm going to survive, I think. So any big plans for anybody over the weekend? I myself do not have any. Yeah, it is neat looking when you can see the little snail mouths up close on the glass, and their little teeth are scraping the algae and stuff off the glass. That's pretty cool looking. At least I've always thought so. I don't know why I'm going to bother to try to stick this spray bar suction cup to the back glass again. It only stays on there for about 1 second, and it just fell off again. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that off. Oh, Zini's got some sweet plans for the weekend. Sleeping in a field. Nice. I would have liked to have spent time outside today, but it's friggin' winter time. I don't think it even got over 70 degrees today. I went out once. I ran down to the store, but they were closed with a sign in the window saying we'll be back at 2:30. Sorry for the inconvenience or some dumb shit. And so I came back home. I'm glad I didn't go back, though. I was going to get another battery. As some of you remember, I ordered a little cartridge of THC juice, and I was going to experiment with that. So I was going to get a little battery, so I'd have a devoted battery just for this, weed cartridge. But when I got it today, I didn't have the battery yet. I hadn't gone back down there because it wasn't 2:30 yet. So I screwed it onto my existing battery, and I tried it, and I really didn't like it. It made me cough a lot. And when I looked at the ingredients, I don't know how I do this shit all the time. I'll read one wrong thing. I'm always bringing home the sodium-free stuff or the, the reduced fat, whatever, because I picked up the wrong fucking box off the shelf. Well, I did it again. What I got was some shit that's a blend of Delta H THC, and then it's got HHC, and then it's got CBD in it or some other thing in it. And I puffed on it a little bit, and again, I coughed my head off, and then I had this sort of weird, kind of strange buzz that lasted for about 15 or 20 minutes and kind of faded away. And that was about all there was to it. And so it was $8. It was worth the experiment. So now I know not to waste waste any more money on those things. Depends on where you've got your fungus gnats. I know a good way of getting rid of fungus gnats. They make a product called mosquito bits. They also make mosquito dunks, if you've ever seen them. They're like donut shaped, and you throw them in containers of water, and it kills off mosquito larvae, but it also kills off all kinds of larvae, including gnats. And so what I do is I get the mosquito bits, which are like granules, and you can sprinkle them directly on the surface of your soil if you want. If that's, I'm assuming you got gnats in your soil, that's where they usually come from. You can sprinkle the granules on your soil and then just water as usual. The granules basically is just corn cob material, but it's impregnated with bacteria, and the bacteria gets down in the soil, and that bacteria attacks the larva. And so what I do is I just take a jug of water and I pour a tablespoon of the mosquito bits into the water and just let it sit, or shake it up, and let it sit. And then I use that water. I strain out the mosquito bits, or I pour it off gently into a watering can or whatever, and then you're using water that's already infused with that bacteria, and you water your plants with that. Then you don't have to look at the corncob bits, but you're also getting that bacteria into your soil, and it should eliminate any soil gnat problems. Another thing I can suggest is that soil gnats thrive in moist conditions. So if you let the surface of your soil dry out completely to about the top inch of dry, soil before you rewater, that will get rid of them too. You can just let your plants be a little less moist on a regular basis, and that will reduce them greatly, because that's how they breed. They breed in like those boggy, damp conditions. So anytime you have a planter where you never really let it dry out, the soil is always damp, and you water again while it's still a little damp, you're just asking for fungus gnats at that point. Let it dry out. Let that first top inch get pretty dry before you water again, and that should help. TK, how are you? You can look up, if you want the cheapest lid you can get, TK, I would do a search for all glass lids and then just do all glass 55. I've actually got some here. I don't know where you live. If you're close enough, I'd give them to you, because I really want to start cleaning my basement out. And I got hoods and lights and just a ton of shit over there I'm just never going to use again. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know who to give it to, or if anybody'd even want it. But I do have some glass lids for 55s. It's a pretty standard lid. I think at the 55s, it's a 24-inch lid or a 22-inch lid. The plastic accounts for difference in inches. But look for an all-glass hood. That's going to be your cheapest bet. Or you can make one out of plexiglass. You could put a screen over it. Red Ed, how are you? That pleco is a little over a foot long. Hey, Winston, if you measure all the way to the very, very tip of the trailer on the end of its tail, it is probably 12 and a half inches or something like that. I don't know if you measured right to like the base of the tail, the caudal peduncle, maybe 10 inches or something, 9.5. It's a big pleco for sure. I mean, not by the standards of some plecos I've seen, but in the tank it's in a 125-gallon tank, and it's getting pretty big for the 125. Let me see if I can get you a better view of that tank. I guess one thing I can do is close this lid. That'll get some of the glare off of it, probably. The angelfish is getting a fat little belly on it. Oh shit, she's in Catonsville. Yeah, if she's willing to meet me somewhere, I can give you some lids. Catonsville's not that far from here. Yeah, that pleco is going to keep on growing. It's growing slowly because it's old, but it's still growing. I mean, it's not that old. It's less than 8 years old, maybe 7 years old, something like that. But it's not in like its really early rapid growth phase, so it's not going to grow super fast. But a Trinidad or well, see, I keep getting told that that's not a common pleco. I keep forgetting I bought it as a high fin spotted pleco at PetSmart, and I've had people tell me it's like a gold nugget or something. I've had 2 or 3 different people tell me what they think it is, and when I've looked them up, every single one of them was like, yeah, I guess it could be that one. There's so many plecos that look really similar, so I don't know exactly what it is. It's listed as a high fin spotted pleco from PetSmart, and if I remember correctly, they had 15 inches on the tag for whatever that's worth. It's a PetSmart tag on the side of the tank, so who knows how accurate that is. Yeah, you definitely need the space for the tanks, but 20-gallon tanks are good tanks. I like 20s, especially 20 longs. They're one of my favorite sizes. Yeah, plexiglass is crazy expensive. Plecos, yeah, they probably live 15 or 20 years. Oh, I still got my music up tonight, too, if anybody wants to try to guess my music. All right, let's see what pleco lifespan is. Well, that's bullshit. The average lifespan of a pleco can range significantly by species, true enough, from approximately 5 to 15 years, with some species living 8 to 10, while common plecos potentially live over 10 to 15 years in captivity. So that's what I figured, a common pleco, which again, I don't think mine is a common pleco, honestly. It's not dark enough and it doesn't have the same kind of black markings as a common pleco. But whatever mine is, if I get 10 or 12 years out of it and it dies, I won't consider that a long life for that fish. My Tanapoma, he was almost 10, or he was actually a little over 10 when he died. And they say 5 to 7 years is the lifespan for those. And he lived over 10. So I suspect that pleco, if it's in good health, should live at least 10 or 15 years. Yeah, Cory cats are good little bottom feeders. Any kind of catfish, really. I like the pleco type, like the rubber lips and the clown plecos. Those are good bottom feeders. Loaches are good bottom feeders. All right, let's move on to the next tank. We're about halfway filled up. And really, again, that's just my goal tonight, is to get everything filled. By then, I would like to be sitting down. And just a little word of note, since I'm seeing it, if anybody ever has any nearite snails that seem to go missing and they can't find their nearite snails, do you see that nearite snail down there? Just buried in the substrate? That's very common. You'll see nearite snails bury themselves in the substrate all the time. So if you have some that seem to have vanished and then a month later you see them in the tank again or whatever, they're probably just underneath the substrate when you're looking in there. They do that all the time. All right, this glass needs a good wiping too. This whole tank needs a decent sized water change, so that'll be on the list of things to do one of these days. Almost broke into song there for a minute. I was going to start singing Pink Floyd's One of These Days. It's not a very cheerful song, though. He just sings that one of these days I'm going to cut you into little pieces. That's the entire lyrics of the whole song. Oh, speaking of songs, my music tonight, I was listening to just one of the darkest songs that there is, but it's a really good song and it's a really good band. But God damn, that song is so dark. It makes me feel creepy after I listen to it. It's called Country Death Song. If anybody's familiar with the band that does Country Death Song. Let's see. I'll tell you how. Wikipedia describes them. Oh, let me see here. Band name here are considered to be. Oh, let's back up. Band name are an American folk punk band from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It has some people in it with a bunch of names. They are considered to be an integral part of the then underground funk, folk, and alternative rock scenes of the 1980s. And remain influential and inspirational to subsequent movements, particularly on folk rock, indie rock, grunge, pop punk, emo, and the late 80s and 90s alternative rock scene. So does anybody know who that is? You might know American Music, or you probably know Blister in the Sun. That's probably their most famous song is Blister in the Sun. But Country Death Song is by far my favorite song of theirs. And again, it's super dark. Dr. Hook. Oh, that sounds really familiar. I know Dr. John. Yeah, any kind of loach really is good for the bottom of your tank. Yeah, I wouldn't try putting shrimp in with cichlids. Cover of the Rolling Stones? What's a cover of the Rolling Stones? There you go, Mike. Violent Femmes. Mike is good at guessing my music. My American music. All right. Well, Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. That really does sound familiar. I'm sure I know who they are. I'll look them up in a second here. I'm sure as soon as I see them or see a song or something, I'll know who you're talking about. When I see Doctor, I always think of Dr. John, who was the inspiration for Dr. Teeth. If you know the Muppet Show band, the piano player, the leader of the band, Dr. Teeth, he is actually based on Dr. John. Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. Yeah, that looks really familiar. Union City, New Jersey. They had a hit single, Sylvia's Mother, the cover of Rolling Stone. Only 16. Now, I'll listen to them. I'll give them a shot and see if I recognize them. They look familiar. I'm sure I've been exposed to them before. It's just not ringing a bell off the top of my head. Blackfeet. So his cover of the Rolling Stones, is Sylvia's Mother the cover of the song, or is cover of the Rolling Stones the name of a song? Because that's the way it looked when they had it written. Bob. Well, if you like dark songs, listen to Country Death Song by Violent Femmes. It really is a good song, but it is really dark. All right, we got about 4 inches of water left to go, but the tank does look sharp now that I got the glass all cleaned up and fresh water put in there. And my little experiment with the tannin on that piece of wood in the other room is sooner or later I'll shoot a video confirming it and just wrapping it up and putting the wood back in the tank. But there's no doubt whatsoever that the tannin is coming from the wood. It is coming from the roots. The water that's only got the fern in it at this point is getting tannin stained, but at a fraction of the rate that the container that has the wood only in it. And again, it's wood that's been submerged for probably 15 years. It's one of the very earliest pieces of wood I got when I got into the hobby. And it's been in a tank or underwater. I've always kept it underwater so that it never dries out on me and I have to re-submerge it. And after all this time, it's still turning that water tea stained in a matter of weeks. And I'll grant you, it's in a small container, but if it was in a 10-gallon tank, you could just, extend the time by, a couple of weeks and you'd still see that dark water in there. So it's definitely still coming from the wood. And I always believed that wood always releases tannin as long as it's in your tank. There's just so many people out there that seem to think you can just, soak your wood and get the tannin out of it and put it in your tank. If you soak a brand new piece of wood, you'll probably get a tremendous amount of tannin initially, and that'll slow down after a few days, but it's always going to release it. You're never going to get it out. It's part of the wood. It's part of the decomposition process or something. So I'm still hitting on my THC juice. I'm just hitting on it out of got a different mod tonight. Queen of the Silver Dollar. Yeah, I'll definitely give them a listen. There's a lot of bands out there that don't necessarily play the kind of music that they look like they're going to play. Wild Cherry, Play That Funky Music, White Boy, is a great example. They even say so in the name. Well, I will say hello again then, Shirley, just in case you missed my hello earlier. And we can move on from this tank. We don't have a whole lot going on in there anyways. Not a whole lot going on in this tank, but it is clean now. So we will have a look at it since we can actually see. All right, I can feel those mushrooms starting to kick in. So it's going to be time to sit down and relax here pretty soon. I just got to finish filling that tank up. I was trying to time it so that they wouldn't start kicking in until I was done doing all my responsible stuff. But as long as I don't let the tank overflow, we'll be good. Actually, let me find my iced tea and get a drink. I brought my coffee down, but it's probably too late to be drinking on coffee. Yeah, it's 8:30. I'll have a swig. And the temperature in the tank has dropped to 77.5. So I am putting water in the tank. That's a little cooler than what was already in there, but I like doing it that way. How long has it been since I've overflowed a tank? It's been a pretty good while since I've done it. I think the last thing I overflowed was a bucket. I think I was doing a 5-gallon water change and I got to talking on camera and it overflowed on me a little bit. I don't remember the last time I did a tank though. I've done it several times over the years, but it's been a while since I have. It's like I always say, knowing your weaknesses is a strength in itself. If I go pretending I'm great at everything, I fuck a lot of stuff up. But if I accept the fact that I'm not good at some things, I take extra precaution and extra care and whatnot. And I know, especially now that I have a better understanding of ADHD and whatnot, I know the dangers of going and just because that's what I do. I'll go in the other room to do one little thing, and I'll get in there and I'll get distracted and I'll do a second thing. And before you know it, it's been 15 minutes and I hear, the splashing of the water coming from the other room. And that's when I remember I'm in the middle of a water change. So I've just basically make myself stand around and stand in front of the tanks now while they're filling up. And that way I don't, I'm here to catch it. The draining part is always sort of self-regulating. It can only drain down to where the hose breaks suction, and then you're going to be left with 4 inches of water in the bottom. And since I do water changes like that anyway, I'm not too worried about the draining it out part. It's the filling it back up where that hose doesn't automatically shut off when the tank is full. It's just going to keep right on flowing. It's just a hose. All right, what did I miss here? Should have posted the beefcake. What should I have posted the beefcake? Oh, are you talking about Shirley? I'm missing some comments here. And I am set on all messages. Burley. How do you fix extremely murky green water? You've tried cleaning your filter, adding more filtration along with 50% water changes, no cleaning whatsoever. It's been that way for a month. Green water like that can be hard to take care of. If you can get like a BioLite, like a UV clarifier, you could run it on that for a while. That would probably clear it up. And then take it off when it's done. I don't recommend running them regularly, but if you've got an issue that you need cleared up, other than that, I'm not really sure what to tell you. Cut back on feeding, reduce the amount of food in the tank, maybe reduce the light. What you're doing with the filtration and everything sounds good, but an algal outbreak isn't the same as like cloudy water. That's what I've got going on in my little shrimp tank, and I think it's because it's under-filtered. So if you've got additional filtration and you're still seeing the greenish murky water, it's probably an algal bloom, and you get the green water from that. Cloudy water is usually a bacterial bloom, and that's got something to do with your nitrogen cycle or your filtration abilities. So with green water, I would try reducing the light, treat it like algae. And do all the things that you normally would to try to reduce algae. Worst case scenario, you can buy little hang on the back type filters that have a UV light in them, and you can put them in on a temporary basis. That should clear it up. But it's tough. It can take a long time sometimes to get rid of it. Yeah, don't pour water on that, Shirley. I've had a lot of mystery snails. I've kind of stopped keeping mystery snails because they tend to do that. They don't live very long, and then they're just dead. Nearite snails I've had a lot of success with. All right. Yeah, you don't have to do it too many times before you learn not to overflow tanks. Yeah, don't water your router. It isn't going to grow faster or operate better. I've come really close. I mean, I've come, I've come within a millimeter of too much and had to drain some water back out of them a couple of times when I was in the other room and had that oh shit moment when I'm still in the middle, and just running and turn the water off. And then I come in here and check, and I literally did it in the nick of time. If I had come in here first to check, it would have been overflowing before I got back to the sink. That just panicked straight to the sink to turn it off. I can check later, but let's get it turned off first. Definitely saved me, at least on one occasion where I came back, and again, if I had checked the tank first, it would have been overflowing by the time I ran back in the other room. All right, move on to the next tank, and we don't need to spend a lot of time looking at this one either. Gilgalad is still alive in there. I can actually see his little tail sticking out. Yesterday he was in there and he was lying on the bottom. He just looked pathetic lying on his side. So if he comes out, we'll just go ahead and move the camera on. I'm not going to make you guys sit there and look at a dying fish, but he's definitely on his way out. And this is just the plug to the power head in the tank we're doing a water change on. I leave it hanging out like that, so I remember to plug it back in when I'm done. Hey, Quaz, how are you this evening? So not really much to look at in this tank either, just the 2 guppies, and then I got a bunch of the shrimp in there. Eventually the shrimp will make their way out to where all the food settles on the bottom, and in an hour there'll be a whole shit ton of shrimp down here. But other than that, there's not a lot going on in this tank, so not a whole lot of reason to be looking at it either. Yeah, I don't use any of the fixed products anymore. I've used that twice, and in both occasions I had dead fish the next day, and everybody, you know, told me, oh, well, that's your fault. You put too much in, and you got to be really careful with the dosing, and you should start with half of what they recommend. Well, then why do they recommend it if I got to start with half of what they recommend? I that's just something that annoys the shit out of me in this hobby. There's so many people that tell you did it wrong because you followed the instructions on the package. You can't do it like that. You have to do it this way for it to work. Well, then I'm not using that product. If the manufacturer of the product doesn't even know how to fucking use their own product and they're telling me to do it wrong, I'm not going to buy that product anymore. It's just, that's ridiculous. And so with the Melafix, let's assume I did do it wrong. Let's assume I did do a little more than it recommended. You know, I'm just not comfortable using something that if I use a tiny bit too much of it, it kills fish, or something like that. Oh, I can see some shrimp swimming around in the back of this tank. So we still have an active shrimp population in here. Yeah, I'm going to miss him too. That was my first betta fish. He was really cool. He actually turned me on to betta fish. And at some point, if I ever get around to going to a fish store again, I will probably be getting another one for my office tank. And even this tank down here, I don't see why I wouldn't just put another betta fish in there. I think it's a really good setup for a betta fish. And then I can put a few other, you know, guppies or something like that in there with it and have a nice, happy little tank. But again, I got to get to a fish store and have excess money, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I'll use meds if I need to, and I'll use, you know, ChemiClean from time to time if I need to. There's just some products I don't use. I don't use the food. I don't use the, you know, the frozen bloodworms because I've had the similar experience of it's fine unless you use a little too much, and then your fish will die. You know, it even kind of says that right on the package. It doesn't tell you your fish are going to die. But it makes it pretty clear on the package that this is a treat for once in a while. You know, do not feed your fish this on a regular basis. All right, I'll pass. I'm just not, you know, there's no requirement. There's no necessity. I don't need to give my fish this food. And if it may cause problems, why would I do it at all? I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little teeny tiny shrimp on the wire back here. All right, we are just about there. Give it another half inch or so. I can get this power head turned back on while we're waiting. Get the filter flowing again while we're waiting. Actually, before I get the filter flowing again, let me pull the intake part of it off. Clean it off because all the damn roots get in there. Pull some of those roots out of there. Actually, that's not too bad. I only had one fern growing in it, and it was a small one, so that wasn't too terrible for clogging the filter up. All right, that's back on. And the filter is flowing again. And by the time I get in the other room and get the water turned off, we'll be good to go. Yay. All right, mission accomplished. Get this hose put away. And we will be done. All right, now before I sit down, come over here, get my hands dried off. Now I don't have a monitor with me, so I'm not going to be able to see what you can see, but you should be able to get a pretty good look in here at these mushrooms. There's a whole bunch of them. If you look on the bottom edge of the bag along here, you can see them. It's like that all the way around. All the sides are just filled with these little mushrooms starting to crop up. Some of the biggest ones are in that back corner there. So that's pretty exciting. Oh, let me turn this light off while I'm back here too. All right, everybody, I can sit down and relax now. Turn my mushroom light off, save my battery since it's not even going to be on camera anymore. All right, everybody, here I come. Get my stuff and I will join you. I haven't bought new fish in like 3 years. I forgot to turn the damn light on. All right, let me set that down. Let me set these down. All right. All right, everybody. We are done our work. It's only 9 o'clock, so we can hang out for a little while. Oh, where was I? Getting a new betta fish, some honeycomb bristlenose, and a group of something or other killifish. Nice. It is so moist in there. I do have to moisten the bag down a couple times a day to make sure it doesn't dry out. Oh, nice. You can email me, and when you email me, I'll give you my phone number, and then that way you can just text, and it'll be a lot easier to contact me. I don't want to give out my phone number here live, and I can see you're not a member. I was going to say you contact me on the Discord, but if you email me, it's just my name, danielhiteshew@gmail.com. It's if you go below any of my videos, you can find my Gmail address. Just contact me, and I'll hook you up. And I can probably even meet somewhere in between or whatever and make the drive a little shorter for her. Is the big red shrimp still chilling with the fancy goldfish? I do not know. I will go and look and see if I can spot him. And off the top of my face, I'm not seeing him in there, but that doesn't mean anything. Shrimp are not exactly large, so they can hide fairly easily. Usually the shrimp come out when I start doing the water change and the water's flowing around the tank more vigorously and the water pressure changes. See, that's something that a lot of people don't realize when they're doing a water change. Your fish start getting freaked out when the water level starts getting low. It's not so much that they can tell or that they understand what's happening necessarily, but imagine how atmospheric pressure affects you. Like if you go up a hill too quickly and your ears pop and you get all them weird, you got to like swallow 3 times to get your ears to finish popping and everything. That's because of differences in pressure. Your internal body pressure is pushing out against the force of the atmosphere that's pushing in on you. And you sort of develop an equilibrium. If you suddenly change pressure, even if a storm front moves through and suddenly the pressure drops, You know, when that happens, my ears will pop. I can tell when the pressure changes rapidly like that. So for a fish, when you think of the water, water's it's 100 times more dense than air. It's 1,000 times more dense than air, or whatever. And so when you're down here, you got a lot of water pressure. You ever been in a pool? You ever swam 3 or 4 feet down in the pool? You feel like your ears are being shoved in your head. Same thing for the fish, and their bodies are pushing back with the same amount of pressure that the water pressure is pushing in. And of course, they can adjust that as they move up and down in the water column, and they have a swim bladder and all that stuff. They're obviously adapted to that environment. But when you do that big water change and that water level is coming down really quickly, the fish are feeling that pressure just dropping like a stone. And that's what's causing them to get distressed. They don't understand what's going on necessarily, but their body's telling them that something's not right. You know, that the water pressure is just dropping like a stone. This is why you will often, it's suspected why you will often see, like I've seen satellite imagery where they're tracking the movement of sharks, like in San Francisco Bay or something. And then, like a day before a hurricane comes, all the sharks swim out and go out into deeper water when the hurricane comes in. And the suspicion is just that as the pressure changes, they feel that pressure change. And so when the pressure's lowering, they feel like the water's getting shallower. There's less water there because the pressure's reducing. And so they swim out into deeper water where it feels more comfortable. And of course, they're also avoiding the worst of the storm and everything by being out in the deeper water. But that's probably what's triggering them to swim out into deeper water, is that sudden drop in pressure. Because remember, the atmosphere is pushing on the surface of the water too. So if you reduce atmospheric pressure in a very tiny way, you're also reducing the pressure under the water as well. And apparently the sharks can feel that, or so it's suspected anyway. Ninja Cloud. No, I don't have any cherry shrimp. It's the Neocardinia, but I got all different colors of them. Oh, that's a good poop there. That's got to be satisfying when your ears blow out. Doing a Benadryl and doing a dab. Nice. That's a good combination. You'll get some sleep tonight. I do want to clean down the outside of this glass too, so let me do that before I forget. So that's just smooth as butter, and it tastes delicious. It's really nice being able to dial that temperature in where I want it. So thirsty. All right, let me get some Windex and some paper towel. Spray the deadly Windex upon the glass. I think the worst part of using Windex on your fish tank is when you're wiping your hand back and forth rapidly like this. It scares the hell out of the inhabitants a lot of times. Other than that, that's about the most dangerous thing you got to worry about when you're wiping your glass down. I haven't had a good Windex comment in a long time. I used to get them so commonly that it's a running joke about using the deadly Windex. All right. When you're vaping and you're doing bong hits and all that kind of stuff, you'd be surprised how much of that stuff accumulates on the surface of the glass. It gets grimy after a while. That actually didn't seem like it did a whole lot. I didn't really feel like I wiped a bunch off of there. But I also, like I said, I sit in front of this tank all the time, and so I usually keep this one a little more sharp looking than the rest. Benadryl wakes you up. Yeah, I don't like Benadryl either. I have no idea what the ratio of males to females is. I didn't get a choice when I ordered them. They just showed up. And as far as I know, the sexual dimorphism is about the same as like a skirt tetra. The general, like females tend to be more plump and that sort of thing. When they're spawning, I can see which one's the male, which one's the female, but there's only two that have ever paired off and spawned. So for all I know, I've got one female in there and the rest males. I have no idea. Yeah, I was going to say, of all things to develop an allergy to, that would be the worst. I'd rather develop an allergy to sunshine. All right, thank you, Dade. Yeah, that's the problem with my muscle relaxers. There's times where I just have to take them. It's, I don't take them out of recreation. I take them because I need them. And I hate doing it because it not only does it wreck the day that I'm taking them or the evening that I'm taking them, and oddly, even though it makes me drowsy, I also can't sleep while I'm on it. It makes my legs. It's not like restless leg syndrome, but it's something kind of like that. I just keep wanting to move my legs around. Like it's weird trying to fall asleep after taking my muscle relaxers. You think it would make me just drowse right off, but it doesn't. It relieves my pain, which is what I take it for. And, my hands and shit go numb from the nerve damage and stuff in my neck. And so I need to take it. But the next day I'm all tired and groggy and out of it. And I fucking hate my muscle relaxers again. It's an unfortunate side effect, but I weigh how much pain am I really in? Can I take some Advil? Will a hot shower, maybe do some stretching exercises or something? My fucking muscle relaxers are a last resort. Well, I've said before that I'm a big fan of drugs. And I would definitely not be as much fun if it wasn't for drugs. My live streams would not be nearly as good. I don't think I wouldn't enjoy them as much anyway. And that's the important part. Oh, I got a message from somebody. Oh, it looks like an email. It's probably from TK Tropical, TK421. It is. I will contact you later. And then you can shoot me a text and we'll make arrangements on when we can get together. But I'd be more than happy to get you some of those lids and whatnot. You can have some of the lights and lighting fixtures if you want them. I mean, if you want, you can come over to the house and I'll let you rummage through. You take anything you want. But I've got stacks of light fixtures and lights and hoods. These will work on a 55 right there. That's two of them. So there's your 55 covered. Again, I got under cabinet lights. I've got standard aquarium hood lights. I got another aquarium hood back here. It's plastic. All these are aquarium lights. I got all these lights up here. These are mostly bulbs, though. These are all fluorescent tubes and bulbs and whatnot. But this is an aquarium light. So I got all kinds of shit I need to get rid of. Up down here, these are all lids. I think I got 3 lids for a 40 breeder, and then here's another one for like a 20 or half of a 55. So, like I say, you come on over, and if you want to come over here and rummage through that, you're welcome to. You can get a tour of the fish room and everything. Otherwise, I can just grab what I think you'll need and meet you somewhere. We'll work it out. But I hate throwing stuff away. I was raised by people that taught me to reuse stuff and fix things rather than buy new things. And if you've got something that can still be used by somebody less fortunate than you or somebody else, don't throw it away. Make sure they get it. I hate throwing stuff away. So if I can get rid of any of that stuff to somebody that's going to use it or needs it, hell, you can take it to a flea market and sell it. I don't care. I'd rather see somebody do that than throw it away. But I'm getting ready to throw it away because I really want to get that side of the basement cleaned up a little bit. I don't know if it's a semi-laxative or not, but I do know that I will just say, without going into too many details, that it has a very similar effect in the morning as a cup of coffee does. But the rest of the day, it's only that first, couple of hits in the morning. Again, very much like your first couple of drinks of caffeine in the morning, will send you running to the bathroom. But other than that, it's that morning trigger. Um, I don't feel like it's got any kind of laxative type effect on me. Old fashioned whiskey, welcome aboard. Thank you, Art. Yeah, it's the crack that makes it. Let's see. Yeah, when I used to smoke, it was the same thing. I'd fire up a cigarette in the morning and straight into the bathroom. Um, I've said before that mushroom juice stuff I drink tends to have a diuretic effect. I don't know why, but I pee a lot when I drink that stuff. It's weird. Um, and I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'm not going to get into it because I guess you guys probably don't want to hear me talking about my urination habits. But it's strange the way that mushroom stuff goes through me. It's definitely doing something in my body that makes me pee differently when I drink a lot of that stuff. So that's weird. This is so much smoother through this mod that I can control. And it's a lot nicer than doing bong hits. I know a little about Bolivian Rams. No, I would say they're very different than the German Blues. German Blues are really sensitive, and you gotta like I've never had success with German Blues. Bolivian Rams are tough as nails, though. They get considerably larger. They get about twice the size of the German Blues. They're less colorful. The German Blue Rams are just stunning fish, whether you get the electric blue ones or just a standard paint job. They're amazing. They're gorgeous fish. The Bolivian Rams are a little less stunning, but they're still really pretty little fish. They're easy. They're fairly non-aggressive. I would imagine maybe if you had some that paired off and were defending their brood or whatever, they might be a little more aggressive. But the Bolivian Rams are great. I really recommend those. If you can keep the German Blues and you don't have issues keeping them alive, they're great too. I just, for whatever reason, I've given up. That's one of those fish that I just don't try to keep anymore. I've bought expensive ones from, good sources. I bought the cheap ones from the PetSmart. I've had a mixed bag of success with all of them, and so I've just given up. I think the longest I've ever kept a German blue ram alive was maybe 9 months or something, and that's not acceptable to me. I should get a few years out of them at least. They're not long-lived fish, but I should get at least 3 or 4 years out of them. Hey, corn dog. Yeah, I always put dark substrate in all my tanks. I like the dark substrate. Oh, that'll be cool if they breed though. Let me see. 10 German Blues. Nice. Yeah, I gave up on the GBRs. I will, again, like I said, the Bolivians are a cool fish. I just haven't had the opportunity to really have a tank with them in it. But I have had Bolivian Rams in the past, and I really enjoyed them. Celestial Pearl Danios, those are cool too. Man, the thing. I was saying earlier that because it's got a lower wattage and it ramps up more slowly, I'm getting smaller hits, but they're more flavorful. All I got to do is inhale a little longer, and I'm getting hits that are just as big as the other ones I was doing. So I can take that back. And they don't make me cough like the other ones do. Yeah, I don't know what it is, Shirley. I don't know if it's my water or what. Again, I've never really made any adjustments to my water, but I was always under the impression that my water was good for them. I have very soft water, and that's what I thought they needed. And again, I've never been able to have success with them, so I don't really know what to make of that. I don't know which Jeff. Flaccid Water. That make a good band name. Flaccid Water. I like it. Let's see. New breed. I just saw a thing the other day. I didn't actually watch the video about it. I only saw the thumbnail, but the thumbnail was one of those like it was more of a picture and a description, and then there was also a link to the video. But it was about a new gecko apparently that has been discovered, and that's all I know about it. So it's a new species of gecko that's been discovered wherever the fuck they find geckos. I'm sure they're all over the place, but they have found a new gecko. So it amazes me how they still find, you go into the South American rainforest or something, I can imagine you're going to find insects that have never been, discovered before, scientifically documented before. You're probably going to find weird molds and spores and microscopic stuff. But the fact that they're still finding like fairly large animals in these trodden areas, like these new discoveries aren't necessarily coming out of like the deepest, darkest Congo. It's coming out of places where scientists are already studying the other, flora and fauna in the area, and then they happen upon something that looks a little unusual, and they start looking closer, and they like, hey, this is a brand new species. We're doing that shit all the time. I can only imagine how much shit's in the ocean that we haven't fucking even thought of yet or ever seen before. Nobody's ever seen one before. One's never washed up on shore. No fisherman's ever dragged one up. There's something in that ocean that no human being has ever seen before, I'm sure. It's an interesting world that we live in for sure. Oh, my little betta fish is out. It looks like he's trying to get some food off the bottom, so I hope he's still eating. You can see him down there on the bottom, the little blue speck down there. So he's still alive and he's still getting out and about. Oh, let me see. A point for Bigfoot. Aliens are in the ocean. Oh, no. I am going to have another little swig of my mushroom syrup. I actually have to open my other bottle to get it, though, because that was the last of what was in that bottle. But I'll talk about Bigfoot for a minute if you want me to talk about Bigfoot. I have thoughts on Bigfoot. I'm down with believing in fun stuff. I'd love to believe that there's a possibility we would discover a Bigfoot one day or a Loch Ness monster or something. We're aliens, But I'm also somebody that thinks critically, and I'm not necessarily going to say I think logically, because logic is probably not what most people think logic is, or logical thought. Most people think logical thought is just thinking reasonably or being accurate in your, your wording or whatever. That's not how logic itself works. So I'm not necessarily going to say I'm super logical about the way I think, but I do think things through. I do play out the whole fucking tape to the end. And when you start thinking about stuff like Bigfoot, you start thinking about things like breeding population. There can't be a Bigfoot. There can't be 4 Bigfoots. There's got to be a large enough population to sustain breeding. Are they that elusive? We've never found a single hair that's got DNA that wasn't identifiable, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you really start adding it up, as fun as it is to think about, and, for as vast as those expanses of, forest and all that kind of stuff, where they might be their habitat up in Oregon and, the Western United States, it's just completely unrealistic to think that that's could be true. It's fun to think, but it's just not realistic. Loch Ness Monster, not only have they done the deep sonar scans and gone over the whole thing and they've found nothing in it, they found nothing in it. There's barely any fish in there. It's almost a dead lake. So once again, you get into these breeding size populations, and what's feeding this huge population of dinosaur sized animals in there if there's barely even any fish, there's no plants, there's no algae growing in there. It's just a dead looking lake. If you've ever seen underwater footage of Loch Ness, it just looks like a fucking dead lake. How can a huge breeding population of animals be living in there undetected all this time? It's fun to think about and all that kind of stuff. With space aliens, you just get into the logical thought of like, how close can somebody be and can they do that? And, even if they were traveling at the speed of light, it would take them 4 years to get here. And apparently our skies are abuzz with alien species from all over the goddamn place. How they get here, I don't know. And if you've got the technology to go faster than light and all that bullshit, you sure ain't being seen by us or detected by our radar or anything like that. If you can do that, then you can come here unseen, and do whatever the fuck you want to us, because we're monkeys compared to somebody that knows how to like bypass light speed. So again, fun to think about, sci-fi, science fiction, and all that kind of stuff. But the practical realities of most of these things, just again, if you play the tape all the way through and you start thinking about the hows, and it starts to fall apart pretty quickly. So I'm a whole lot of no fun when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't believe in anything supernatural. I don't believe in gods and monsters and ghosts and afterlives and spirits or past lives or, reincarnation. I just don't believe in anything that can't be sort of proven out, All right. They make these things really challenging to get into. I guess they want to make sure you really mean it when you open this thing up. All right, let me see where I was. Fishing football, how are you this evening? Let me see where I was. Stormy Scotland, nice. Thank you for the compliment. Yeah, they're called octopi. That's good. I didn't say aliens aren't real. I just said they're not here. If somebody wants to pay my trip to Loch Ness, I'll go meet you there. Actually, I still wouldn't. Are you scared you're going to get grabbed by the watcher in the water? I didn't say we're the only intelligent life in the universe. I said they're not here. They don't fly to Earth to visit us. Yeah, it's deep as shit, and it's freezing cold. Exactly. I was the little bastard that went around telling the other kids there was no such thing as Santa Claus. Well, until we find anything that demonstrates breaking those laws of physics, then I'd say we're pretty sure that those laws of physics hold up because we've never been able to break them yet. So until we do, we're going to say they hold up. That's how we know they hold up. They hold up. Now, we might not necessarily know the limits of those physics. Yeah, anybody that thinks potheads don't think about stuff has never smoked pot before. No, but I did see the video that the Navy released where they used a fucking Hellfire missile to shoot down a weather balloon. You can see the debris of the balloon and everything, and the missile just goes right on through it because it's a fucking balloon, and the missile's not going to go through it. Hellfire missiles have a crush detonator on the front of them. If they don't hit a hard object, they don't go off. They just go through it. That's all that was. They shot down a fucking weather balloon. Unfortunately, that document got released, and now enemies around the world know that we use Hellfire missiles to shoot down balloons. That used to be a secret, but now everybody knows that we use Hellfire missiles to shoot down surveillance balloons, weather balloons, etc. So, yeah, that's all that was. Oh, let me see. Yeah, I don't really think the Loch Ness Monster is real either. Hey, Eric, how are you? Yeah, those trees grow in like communal tree organization. The root structure is all huge underneath the ground. It's almost more like a colony than an actual single tree. Go to a different galaxy. It's 4 light years just to get to the closest star in our own galaxy. Our next door neighbor is 4 light years away. I don't even know how far the next galaxy away is. Oh, I got you, Shirley. Yeah, the tallest tree, 35 months. Nice. The tallest tree is not necessarily the largest tree. Oh, yeah, almost everything that Einstein said proved out to be true. I always use the example of your GPS. If your GPS works, Einstein's right. Time is relative because the time in the satellites does not tick at the same speed that the time in your clock does. And I don't mean it's set to a different time. A second doesn't last what you think of as a second. It's different because it's further away from a source of gravity. And so time moves differently in space. They did the math, they accounted for that, they've adjusted for that. And the fact that it works shows that it works. If the clocks in the satellites operated at the same time scale that we operate on down here at ground level, your GPS would be off by about 3 feet every single day. It would get 3 feet further and further off. So they've adjusted for that time dilation by being further away from a source of gravity. Time moves slower. And so the time in those satellites ticks differently than the time you or I experience. And Einstein figured that shit out in his head and a little scratch pad on paper. So I definitely don't consider myself smart when I think about somebody like that. Yeah, and the black holes with the lensing effect and all that kind of stuff. Oh, of course black holes are real. Two and a half million light years to the next galaxy. I don't know if that's a real number or not, but that's a long fucking way to travel at the speed of light. My brain's capable of trying to travel all the time. I lay down and go to sleep, and I open my eyes again, and it's 7 hours later. It only moves in one direction, though. It only goes forward. I haven't worked out how to make it go back yet. Hey, Hamilton, how are you doing this evening? What is it, the end of a black hole? There's no end of a black hole. It's not a tunnel. Well, there are such things as wormholes, but they're not what people think they are. They're not the sci-fi wormhole or whatever, but mathematically wormholes have been shown to exist. And I think in some of those experiments and like the Large Hadron Collider and whatnot, where they do create little tiny, instantaneous black holes that evaporate immediately and stuff like that. I think they've done. I stopped paying attention to all this stuff a long time ago. It used to fascinate me. Now it's just like, yeah, whatever. We're never going to figure out what's really going on in this universe, so I don't try anymore because it hurts my head. But they've probably figured out, like, what a wormhole is, or they exist and then pop out of existence almost instantaneously, and stuff like that. But mathematically, there is supposed to be such a thing as a wormhole. Although then again, mathematically, there's supposed to also be white holes, which feed matter into the universe rather than sucking matter out, which that doesn't make any sense. And then what else is supposed to be? Kugelblitz. If you know what a Kugelblitz is, if you take light, a photon has no mass, but it does have energy. And if you put enough of that energy together, we know by Einstein's theory that mass and energy are basically the same thing. So theoretically, if you can get enough light in one place, then you can actually create a black hole from the sheer density of the amount of light that you have. But in order to do that, it would take all the energy in the entire universe to create enough light to create that condition to happen. So that's one of those things that mathematically on paper, you could create a black hole out of light, but functionally in the physical world, it's just not something that could ever happen. So, the idea that a white hole is going to exist is not something that I think we're ever going to discover. There's just things we're never going to discover. There's a limited amount of the universe we can even see. We act like we know what the universe is, but we know that we can only see so far, and we know there's stuff beyond that, and we just can't see it, and we never will. And so, how we'll ever understand stuff we can never see? I don't know how we're supposed to do that. And at the current rate of expansion, what we can see now is the most we'll ever see. We're going to continue to see less and less as time goes on because the universe is expanding faster than light. So anything that's happening out there is moving away from us faster than the light is moving towards us. We will never see it. The light will never get here. So again, I'm glad people are trying to figure out what's going on, but I don't think anyone ever really will. I'm going to get this fucking bottle open before this night is over. God damn it. Break a couple teeth in the process. There we go. Grape-alicious. All right, everybody, cheers. I'm doing the raw syrup this time. This stuff is so thick and nasty. Yeah. I've gotten used to drinking it mixed with water, so it's just like, even when you mix it with water, 2-to-1 or even 3-to-1 with water, it's still kind of thick and syrupy. When you just do it straight out of the bottle, oh my God. Got a nice flavor. It's got that nice grapey flavor to it, but holy crap, that stuff is thick. You get all them sound bites, Bob? All right. I've never seen Interstellar. I stopped watching movies and TV and shit a long time ago. It just doesn't really interest me. I know what, Matthew McConaughey trapped in the bookcase. I know what you're talking about, but I've never seen it. Well, don't ever just don't let yourself get ever put into the total perspective vortex, or it will destroy your mind. Oh, well, if Google told you, then it's got to be true. Let's see what the computer machine says. Computer, what is the closest galaxy to the Milky Way?
The Andromeda Galaxy is our closest galactic neighbor. It is a spiral galaxy located approximately 2.5 million light years away from Earth.
There you go. 2.5 million light years to the next closest galaxy. Again, it's 4 light years to the next closest star. And at our current rate of travel, it takes us like months and months just to get to like Mars. I think it takes, 2 years to get to Mars? I saw that you put up an update, Shirley, but I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. I'm glad you're doing better. The only thing worse than finding a worm in your apple is finding half a worm in your apple. I'll go over the murky water stuff again. Hang on. Yeah, you'd have probably paid more attention in class, wouldn't you, Bob? That's not grape juice. That's psychedelic mushroom syrup. It's just grape flavored mushroom syrup. Disney's Black Hole. What a disaster of a movie that was. Oh, there's stars that have burned out millions and millions of years ago that we still see twinkling in the eye because the light hasn't finished getting here yet. That's, when you're looking off into space, that's exactly what you're doing. You're looking back in time. You're not looking away from you. You're looking back into the past is what you're doing. I know it's hard for some people to get their head around, but the further away you're looking, the further back in time you're actually looking. 20 light years to get around your aunt's ass. Nice. Oh, let's see. Yeah, Andromeda sounds way cooler than the Milky Way. All right, cloudy green water. If you have cloudy water, that is probably from bacterial blooms and circulation, gas exchange, nitrogen cycle. It's issues like that that are going to give you cloudy water. If your water is green or sort of green and murky, that's probably an algae bloom, an algal bloom in the water. You can get just waterborne algae that's just swirling around in the water. It's not growing on the surface of anything. It's just in the water. And so I don't really know a whole lot to tell you. What will definitely get rid of it would be a UV clarifier. You can buy a little hang on the back clarifier. It's got a little UV light in it. Run that for a few days. excuse me, run that for a few days and you'll probably be fine. I don't know what the root cause of the issue is, but I've had green water happen in the past. I've cleared it up and it's never come back without me really making any adjustments. So sometimes it just seems to sort of happen. If you can get on top of it, then you might be okay without really doing any other kind of adjustments. But try the water changes, try less light, less feeding, less nutrients in the water. You said you added a filter already, I believe. Make sure you got plenty of good biological filtration. Maybe put an air stone in the tank if it doesn't have one already. That might help. But the way you really to clear it up for sure is going to be to get a little UV clarifier in there. That's the only thing I can tell you that will kill off the bacterial bloom or the algal bloom in the water. As far as root causes of it, I don't know what to tell you. I'd need to know a lot more information about your tank. All right, let me see where I was. Into the future, how are you doing? Okay, just getting caught up here. It's actually about 8 minutes, maybe 8.5 minutes from the sun to the earth. It's 92 to 93 million miles. I don't know what it is in kilometers. Forgot to put tobacco in the joint. That should be a crime anyway. Oh, I like the backbone of the night. That's a good one. Let's see. Thank you, Bob. Then how far away are we from the sun? Computer, how far away is Earth from the sun?
The sun is 92.94 million miles from Earth.
What do you know? It's 92 million miles from Earth, just like I said. So yeah, depending on where we are, where the sun is, we wobble a little bit, but it's between like 92 and 93 million miles. So it's about like 8.5 light minutes away if you want to go by light time. That's pretty crazy, even if you think about it, because light moves really fast. As Terry Pratchett put it, light travels so fast, it took most civilizations thousands of years to even realize that it moves at all. So that gives you an idea. That's a pretty good explanation of how fast light moves. It moves so fast that it takes civilizations thousands of years to even realize that it moves at all. Does it really? Not a good idea to talk with that in your lungs. It really does seem to be just instantaneous as far as our brains are capable of understanding, movement. How the first dude figured out the speed of light, I do not know. I remember seeing a thing about how he actually calculated it, and he didn't get it exactly right, but he came really, really close to getting the speed of light accurate from the really, really crude, way of measuring it. Like we use lasers and all that kind of shit now. But yeah, that's crazy that people can do that kind of shit. If you go by kilometers, it's like 100 million kilometers. I don't know kilometers well enough. I can't do that size. I can do a few, but not that scale. Computer, how many kilometers from the sun is Earth?
Here is what I found from sciencedocbox.com. The sun is approximately 150 million kilometer from Earth.
Yeah, it's 150 million kilometers. So miles actually makes it seem a lot closer. It's only 92 or 93 million. It's 150 million kilometers, because kilometers are a lot shorter. Everybody compare like, oh, kilometers about a mile. No, it's not about a mile. It's a very different length than a mile. Um, it's the comparable unit of measure when we think about like small scale, large scale, medium scale, etc. We use miles, they use kilometers, but that doesn't mean a kilometer is almost a mile or anything like that. They're really far off. All right, Dave, you have a good night. Yes, one astronomical unit. If you're not familiar with what an AU or an astronomical unit is, when you're talking about like distances in space, they're so fucking vast. It's kind of silly to use miles. It's like measuring your driveway in millimeters. So we use astronomical units, and the astronomical unit is roughly the distance between the Earth and the Sun. So about 93 million miles is one AU, or about 150,000 or 150 million kilometers is one AU. I'm assuming that's Atuin, the sky turtle. Yeah, it's hard to get a good look at. The sun's too close to get a good look at. Cherry Mac X. Nice. I'll pass on the rum. Turtle's all the way down. I'm still working on that. I got it from a company called Serene Tree. I ordered more. I was hoping they were going to be here today. The shipping hasn't updated since 3 days ago. It still says it's in San Diego, California. As opposed to San Diego, Utah. I don't know why I say California on the end of that. But it's this stuff. So it's an e-liquid. It's about 40% THC. It's 1,200 milligrams of THC in this little bottle. And again, it's French vanilla flavored. It's just smooth as can be. It's not any particular strain of weed. It's just got, hemp derived THC in it. And again, it's French vanilla flavored. Nice mild buzz, but after 3 or 4 giant clouds, I don't think I've smoked pot in a week. I just don't pack bowls up anymore. I don't do bong hits. I find when my buzz is wearing down and it's time to refresh, I just grab this and do a few puffs and set it down. I'm good to go. So I really like this stuff. I'm really probably going to be doing more of it. The only weed stuff I have right now is all my weed that's left over from when I was having all my issues with mites. So even the bud isn't the highest quality bud. I do have new stuff that's in the flowering process. It's begun. So far, so good. I don't see any sign of kind of any bugs or infestation. It looks green, beautiful. Everything looks fantastic. So fingers crossed, I'll be getting some good quality bud coming here in about another 6 weeks. In the meantime, I'm just going to be satisfied puffing away with this. It was $42, almost $43 a bottle. But I got they called it a subscription box, and you get 3 of them for $89. So for less than the price of 2 bottles, I actually got 3 bottles. I got a banana, I got another French vanilla, and I got a tropical flavor. And they're somewhere in between here and San Diego, or they're still sitting in San Diego or whatever. I don't know, but sooner or later they'll get here. A lot of times like that, you won't get an update. It'll say like, we've received your package, and then like nothing happens for 3 days, and then boom, the next update is out for delivery. So it may show up in the mail tomorrow for all I know. I ordered it a week ago. So again, it was in San Diego on the September 30th. It was already in San Diego. So it should be somewhere in between here and there. I doubt it's still just sitting there, but I don't have it yet, and I'm running really low on this stuff. So who knows? I might be smoking weed by tomorrow. You remember earlier I was talking about water pressure and the pressure decreasing and all that. You see the little trails of bubble, the little lines of bubbles that are coming up out of those plants. That's exactly what that's from. That's a type of false pearling. There's a lot of different things that can cause false pearling, but that's a type of false pearling. And what's happening is those plants likewise had built up an internal amount of water pressure because they have to move gases, dissolved gases, and so on and so forth through their body. You know, CO2 and oxygen and all that stuff move through a plant, you know, just like in our blood. It's dissolved into solution. And so when we reduce pressure really rapidly, it off gases, it expands and becomes bubbles in our bloodstream. It's known as the bends or compression sickness. Something similar is going on here. When that water level got reduced and suddenly those plants weren't having all that pressure squeezing on them for a few minutes, they began to change their internal structure, and the gases that have been held under pressure, just like when you crack open a soda, it releases all the pressure and the CO2 can come out. Something similar is going on there. That drop in pressure is causing an expansion in those gases, and now that it's back underwater, it takes time for that plant to sort of adjust back to the pressure it was under before, and that's why you see those bubbles coming up out of the plant like that. So that is a type of false pearling. Let me see. I don't wake up passed out anywhere. Even when I was drinking heavy, I never woke up unexpected places. Oh, good for you, Art. It's the second one, Zini. It's CI, not CY. CY is cyanide, is the beginning of cyanide, but cider is CI because English. All right, everybody, it's almost 10 o'clock, and so I guess I will start winding down for the evening. We're talking about space aliens and the distance to the sun, so we can probably start calling it a night. I used to like hard cider, like the sweet hard cider, not real, cider that's gone hard. I've had that before, cider that sat around too long, and eventually you got alcohol in it. But you can buy, bottled cider. I used to drink that a lot back in my drinking days. It's been 13 years or something since I drank. I don't know what song you're talking about. Giant clouds. Did I ever feed this tank? I don't think I did. I think we just topped it off with water and I just left it at that. So they're probably all waiting for their food. So let's go ahead and feed them and then we'll call it a night. I don't see any food on the bottom. And if I did feed them earlier and forgot about it, that's all right. They can have 2 feedings for a night. It's Friday night. Go wild. Let your little discus freak flags fly. Oh, thank you, Art. 2 in 1 night. Nice. Fish and footballs in space. Welcome aboard. So don't forget, I know it is still Friday night, but don't forget we do the members only live stream on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. And so if you got gifted a membership tonight, you can join us on Wednesday for the members only. And if you did not get gifted a membership tonight and would like to join us for the members only, you can simply sign up for a membership. It's a mere $2.99 a month, and that'll get you access not only to the members only live stream on Wednesdays, but you'll also get access to our Discord server where you can post pictures of pretty much whatever the fuck you want. We got all kind of different categories and stuff over there. It's not just fish keeping. We have a whole section for weed, marijuana, now my mushrooms. I'm trying to mushroom grow for the first time ever, so I'm posting updates and stuff on that. So if you're interested in that, it's $2.99 a month for membership. And again, that is my YouTube membership, not the Patreon. I have a lot of people will accidentally sign up to the Patreon. And again, if you want to help support me with Patreon, then you can certainly do that. But I don't really do anything over on Patreon. It just kind of sits there. Maybe someday I'll do something over there again, but who knows? Anyway, I'm not going to get out of here just yet, so you all can keep chatting and, you know, asking questions and whatnot for a few more minutes. I just want to get up off my ass and stand up for a bit as we wind down. Got my mushroom juice rolling in. Discord foot fungus chat. That could be an important chat for somebody. Well, there you go. You can join up on the Discord and start posting pictures of all your tanks. And then you can get to see some pictures of Arcanite's foot fungus, apparently. I think I'm going to pass on those. But again, could be an important bit of information for somebody. Oh, I saved the package for that stuff I got. That's what that looks like. I don't know if you can read any of that or not, but it's... I'll have to put my glasses on to see this one. Wait for your old man look. Blam! Old man. Instant old man. Just add old man glasses. It's got 1,000 milligrams of Delta 8 THC, 750 milligrams of HHC, and 30 milligrams of THCP, whatever the fuck that is. I've never even heard of THCP. But there's a reason it only cost me $8, I guess, because it's crap. So that's my secret identity. I'm Dan without the glasses, and then I become Phil when I put my glasses on. Yeah, Gilgalad's still with us. Not much, but he's still in there, although he's back in his cave or something now. I don't see him anymore. He seems to be gone. Yeah, there's nothing else in here. I can throw this box away. I just wanted to make sure I got all those ingredients right when I told you what was in it. Doesn't taste, you know, terrible, but it just has this sort of raspy sort of feel. It made me cough a lot. It was $8. I gave it a try. I was buying some stuff. I was buying empty refillable cartridges for my nicotine, and they also sell these other cartridges. And again, for $8, hell, just throw one in the cart. I'll see what it does. So live and learn. I spent $8, and now I know better. I'm not going to spend another $8 on that. There we go. There's some party lights. It's a pretty accurate count. That's a lot of shrimp. I'm still waiting for the shrimp to take off in my tank in the other room. They were going crazy in there, but when I did the big water change and I sort of reset the tank and I took the wood and everything out of there, they don't seem to be thriving anymore. I keep feeding the shit out of it, and I'm hoping they're going to explode, but I'm still not seeing an explosion of shrimp in that tank yet. Excuse me, burping up the grape juice. Excuse me again. Oh, I don't know what to tell you about the Discord. If somebody can post a link, a current link in the members area, a lot of times the link doesn't work. Once you get over there, sometimes you can only see certain things. I've never really, I honestly, I myself don't do a lot over on Discord, and I get lost in trying to figure out. I think you got to have roles assigned to you or something to allow you to go different places. It should be set up that once you go to the Discord, you should be able to just go anywhere. But I have had people have problems with it at some point. So I will try to remember later, but if somebody else, somebody is already a member and wants to go over to the members area and post a link here on the YouTube, not in the Discord, obviously, but go to my members area on the YouTube and post a link. And then that way you can get access to it. So it's probably just the link is expired or something. I don't always know exactly how this works. It's just my Discord server. You expect me to know how it works? I pay people for that. Yeah, I'll see what I can do about getting the link put over there. Let me see if I can figure out how to do it on my phone. Get rid of that. Go over to Discord. Oh, now I got to figure out how to do an invite or copy a link. Community server. There's 12 people online right now. I can do an invite. So I'm going to copy the link. Now I'm going to go over to my YouTube channel. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to make a post and post it. Let me see if I can figure out what I'm doing here. I don't think there's a way I can just post something on the members area. I got to post like they don't even let you. You used to be able to just like post a comment and then just put it up as like an announcement to people. I can't do that anymore. I can only post like polls and stuff like that. So I'll put a poll up in the members area, and in the poll, I'll put the link to the Discord as part of the question, and then you can just copy the link from there. But I think that's how I'm going to have to do it. And I can't do it from my phone. I got to go upstairs and do it on my PC. I don't get full access to my members area on my phone here. So I'll do that tonight. Yeah, I just do all my live streaming right through my YouTube. What's the other one people do? Yeah, see, I can't even post. Oh, maybe I can. Nope, that's just going to let me shoot video to do a short. No, I don't think I can do it from my phone. You can manage entire business from a phone, but I can't post a link onto my members area from my phone because, of course, I can't. All right, we'll see if we can get that sorted out for you. If it isn't done by tonight or whatever, you can hit me up again, or I'll be back Sunday night. If it's still there, please complain again. If you're, a member, you should have access to that. So if I forget, remind me. Yeah, I'm not much of a typer myself. I don't do tech shit at all. You guys ought to be fucking damn glad I get through these live streams every week and manage to get these things pulled off without too much issue. Half the time we have to restart because I can't get the camera turned on or something, but we'll get there most of the time. Robert, coming in hot right at the end there. So I am going to wrap it up now, unless anybody's got any last thoughts or comments or anything. I've thrown it out there for you for a while now. I'm not getting a whole lot back, so I'm going to figure we're all kind of winding down and done. New hour for work. That's a bummer. Or maybe not. Maybe it's better. I don't know. Usually when they do something new, it's not to your benefit. It's to theirs. So, all right, everybody, let me go put these away. I'll blow your final disco ball cloud for the evening. Stagger into the other room here. So don't forget, we do this every Friday night and Sunday night. I got this on Amazon. If you look up, I looked up Dark Side of the Moon shirts and I saw this and I was like, yes, please. And I got it immediately. But it was sold as cat playing with light meme shirt. So look for the cat playing with light meme or something like that. Or you can look up Dark Side of the Moon shirts on Amazon and you'll find it. There's actually several different versions of it. I like this one the best, though. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Pink Floyd cat. So, all right, everybody. Like I said, don't forget, we do this every Friday and Sunday night at 8. It's not a guarantee, but most weeks I'm here. It depends on how my day's going and all that kind of stuff. So, as far as I know, unless some tragedy occurs over the weekend, and it may, I didn't want to bring it up tonight because I didn't want to have a big conversation about it. But my cat, Little Oldman, today he's been acting funny for the last week, and we've suspected something's wrong with him, but we don't really, it's one of them, like, he's not acting right kind of things. And tonight we heard some like yowling and stuff and thumping on the basement steps, and he was having like some kind of, it wasn't really a seizure, but he clearly couldn't operate his body properly, and he was all flopping around and fell down the steps. And then when he was walking all funny, and it cleared up, and he seems to be normal now, but he's still not acting right. So something's going on with the cat, and then you know, that's never a good situation. So I could be down the emergency cat hospital this time Sunday night or something. Who knows? So we'll see. You know, hopefully everything will be okay, and you know, I'll be back on Sunday night. But if not, you'll probably know why. So otherwise, I will see you guys on Sunday, or at the very least, I'll see the members on the member stream on Wednesday, and then I'll see everybody else next Friday. So thanks for your condolences. I appreciate it, or your concern, rather. It's not condolences yet, but it's probably going to be soon, unfortunately. Anyway, yeah, Fish and Football. If you're not reading the comments now, if you're still there, if you look at the comments, you'll see you can contact Ark on Discord maybe and get on there. He'll give you a link. So I will catch you all next week or Sunday or whenever. So thanks for watching tonight, and good night.